book review. So I have finished the third book in the Zoella trilogy. It's called Girl Online Going Solo, which I find to be a very interesting idea for a third book. This is going to be a pretty unstructured video because I thought about all the things I could talk about it and there weren't that many. This may sound really bad, but if there was a lot to talk about and there's a lot to discuss, then I probably would have a more structured idea to how this video goes, but honestly, it was just a book, it was there, yeah, so let's just get into it. Again, same as the other videos, I'm here to discuss the book. I'm not trying to convince you to read it or not read it. This is purely a discussion, so if you are trying to avoid spoilers and you want to read this for yourself, click away, go ahead, read the book, come back and see if we're on the same page or we're on opposite ends of the earth. So in book 2, we left off with Noah and Penny kind of splitting ways. They're like, I think we need to figure some stuff out, like have some time to ourselves, self-reflect, all this jazz. So, book 3. They are not together, and thank goodness, because they were getting a little too mushy for my taste. So Penny's friend, Megan, who she reconciled with in book 2, she got accepted into some drama school, some very prestigious drama school, might I add. And she's been asking Penny to come visit her for forever. And Penny's like,
alright, I guess I will.
Penny's up and running with the blog now, so she's kind of posting more daily blogs and stuff like that. And I want to say, I think this book has the most blog posts out of all 3 of them. So if you're actually looking for a girl online book, I would guess it has to be this one, because this is the one where she's actually online and actually posting things. So finally Penny goes to visit Megan and they chat, and Megan's actually seems to be a pretty nice person now. Like, she's like showing her off around school, introducing her to a bunch of people there, and it's great. There are some weird tics of her as being a friend, like sometimes she'll just straight up ignore her or like not want her to talk to somebody for too long, but you know, those are kind of glossed over fairly quickly. So Penny meets this cute Scottish boy named Callum. I want to say that, or his name is Caleb. I want to say Callum, so if I'm wrong, oopsie. She meets Callum, who is also a photography nerd, and he apparently was supposed to get the same internship as Penny in the last book, with this very famous photographer like Francis Pure blah blah blah. Sorry, my French is obviously on point. So they connect pretty quickly, and of course he's attractive, he's tall, he's blonde, he's Scottish. But hey, I love Scots too, okay? It is funny though, because when you read the back of the book you do realize Zoella's trying to write in an interesting love triangle now that Noah's kind of out of the picture. So you think maybe Noah was just like the first love and this guy will be the forever love kind of thing. You don't know, but it's always a possibility, especially when you meet new characters and they're always drop dead gorgeous, you know? I mean, I love my Scots, I really do, even though there's only like 2 of them I can think of right now. So getting back to the point, she exchanges numbers with him, and for some reason she gets an anxiety attack and she has to rush out and kind of calm herself down. It seems that Penny has been talking to a therapist off screen, and to deal with her anxiety she has to like kind of zoom in on some people and just keep her focus around them just to kind of like get back to her regular state of breathing and such. And she ends up seeing a girl that's crying. At this point it's awkward. It's like, all right, you're crying, but I'm like looking at you, so I feel like I should come and say hi. Penny goes over and introduces herself. The girl's name's Posey. She is one of the best singers at the drama school, and that's why she did win the role of Maria in the West Side Story production that they're working towards. But she has this crippling stage fright. So she really can't even like perform inside of rehearsals, and she can't even think about what would happen in front of a huge crowd. So Penny's like, okay, we're best friends now, so we're gonna help each other out. Megan's not happy because she's the understudy of Posey, which means that if for whatever reason Posey can't go on stage or whatever, then Megan's gonna step in, and Megan really wants this role. Keep that in mind, kind of important. There was this one thing I thought was super silly. She basically blogged about Posey and her stage fright, asking for any tips out there. Then she gets this text message from Megan being like, "Da fuck," right? I'm sorry to say this, but I don't know how dumb Penny is, because right before that you had established that Megan reads your blog. So if you're posting about this stuff and you have so many details about theater, drama, lead role, everything, and she knows that Posey's dealing with this, everyone seems to know it. Did you not think that Megan would figure it out? I mean, it seems so obvious. So, but she's like, oh, why is Megan mad at me? I was like, oh God, girl. The one thing I'm very aware of when I post anything is that I know certain people found my YouTube channel, like certain people I know in real life. It sort of is at a weird place because it's not like I appreciate them, but they do not have the same YouTube tastes as I do. So it must be super weird for them to watch me. But I am conscious of it. So anything I upload, I kind of already assume that they might click into it or something. I don't understand how right before that, Megan's like, I read your blog, it's so amazing, like, I wish I could blog as well as you. And then the next blog you write like, hey, my friend's dealing with stage fright, any tips? Yeah, of course Megan's gonna get mad, okay? Later on, Penny's still kind of dealing with the yearning and desire for Noah, even though she kind of explicitly states throughout the book like, no, this is my me time, this is for me, I don't need no man, meh. Okay, sure you don't. Women do not need men in that way, but this girl definitely does. Then she messages Leah Brown, who she became really good friends with in book 2. So Leah's like, okay, I'm coming to London anyway, so we'll help her through her stage fright. Penny thinks she can fix all of this by inviting Megan and Posey to the recording session with Leah, just by her being a mega pop star, and it'll just fix everything. Megan kind of does forgive her at this moment. Leah drops some wisdom bombs on Posey and Megan, like how to overcome stage fright, and when Megan's like, dude, this girl, she ain't got it. Let me stand in the spotlight because I got it. Leah's like, oh, excuse me, sir, you know? I would say Megan is the closest to like a fully formed person, and I feel like that's because Zoella probably based her off of like a real life individual that she actually knows. Even if you're not directly friends with this person, you know they exist and you know how they like kind of squeeze and squirm to get their way around. Megan kind of accidentally like insults Leah. Now, not really insults, but kind of like has a dig at her because she's saying like, wait, you and this other pop star are like enemies, aren't you? The media says so. And she's like, no, we're actually best friends. Like, she helps me out. She's ahead of me, sure. She's more famous than me, but like she's carving the path and we all need to help each other and support each other. And Megan's like, no, I don't believe that. Ugh. So, leaves on a sour note. Penny goes on a date with a Scottish guy, and there's just no spark. And she doesn't like it that he gets kind of frustrated by like the kids interrupting their date, the rain coming down and ruining their picnic plans. And he doesn't really like cake and she loves cake. So she's like, oh, I guess this ain't working out. But she doesn't say anything yet. Her family is helping with a wedding in Scotland, and by pure coincidence, Sadie Lee, the grandma of Noah, is like in Brighton now too, and is like, hey, yeah, we're gonna work together on this wedding. This is the biggest coincidence I've ever seen in the coincidences of the world. So they go prepare for this wedding in Scotland, and another coincidence is that, well, not really coincidence, but I feel like it was written this way, where Callum is like the brother of the sister getting married or something. He has like some close tie to the wedding. But I was just like, you met this guy like at a drama school, like out of nowhere, and now he's gonna be the same person that's in the wedding that your mom's catering. A really, really small world. Is there like only 3 people in Scotland? Because if there are, they all sound very attractive. Anyway, so she does like that she can talk photography to him, because it's not something that Noah ever did, but other than that, she isn't feeling like this rush of emotions that she felt with Noah. So she's like, oh, I still miss Noah, no word on him, no one's heard from him. Every time he hits like a brick wall, he just wants to hide away. So they go to the wedding, Callum asks her to dance, and shockingly, Noah comes and interrupts. Where he came from, nobody knows, but there he is with his grand entrance. That's all that matters in a girl's fantasy. Penny doesn't know how she feels at this point. I think she only knows that she doesn't like Callum in the way that she thought she could, and Noah's back. They're leaning on like friends or something. Then the biggest thing happens where Leia's song got leaked out and it's causing such a big uproar, and it's amazing.
Of course.
But she needs to find out where the leak happened because that song was unfinished and Leia's a perfectionist, and yeah, it's just like if you leaked my shitty writing out before it was polished, I'd be super pissed too, because I'm like, no, I could do better than that. Don't. So I get it. So then they traced it, the isolated track, they had to try to figure out where the leak came from, and then they narrowed it down to the recording session where Penny, Posey, and Megan were. This part to me was so obvious. I was like, dude, it's Megan. You know it, like from the way she was acting. And Posey consistently up to this point has been like nice, comforting, shy, always like a friend to Penny, like in the purest form. In the purest form. She doesn't even have like a single flaw. But they're trying to excuse it away by saying like, Megan was in the bathroom, she never even heard the song. So it had to be Posey, and immediately Penny's like, I'm sorry, Posey, you're like not my friend anymore. How could you do this? And even Penny thinks it's weird because she's like, what kind of motive would she have to do that? You would stand against so much more if you were friends with Leia. Like, why would you hurt her in this way? Good questions, Penny, good questions, but they were never answered. Megan was just like, oh, I guess you never really know people. I was like, terrible answer. You gotta be like Breaking Bad on this. You gotta think of a motive for your enemy so you can explain away the details, okay? Clearly, Megan is not a mastermind. At that point, Posey's super devastated. She's like, I can't do this production anymore. Everyone hates me. Like, insecurities are like just even getting the better of me. I really can't do this anymore. So she drops out of the play and Megan takes over. That should tell you exactly who leaked the song. Okay, and the fact that Megan and Leia were not even on the same key. So I feel like I'm spoiling the twist, but it's not really a twist. So I feel like anyone who was reading it would have figured that out. At least in book 2, where they, like, the manager was the one who puppeteered it all. Like, at least, like, you might think it's like the bandmate, Megan, it could be somebody, you know, like there was a little bit more like uncertainty of like who was behind the cell phone stealing and the threatening emails. But no, in book 3, it was like, okay, we're narrowing it down to Posey and Megan. No frick, it's Megan. Anyway, Leia gets the CCTVs to work with her and finds out that Megan left her cell phone behind so she can use the alibi to go to the bathroom, but she was still recording the whole song in the process. Yikes! Oh my gosh, Penny, you finally figured out what we knew all along. Then Penny tries to confront Megan and tells her, you have to give that spot back to Posey at the very least. And Megan's like, no bitch, I'm in the spot and you are not taking it away from me. Get out of my sight. They pulled the Gossip Girl move again in book 2 and in book 3. Ugh, the Gossip Girl move always works. It's like two people like have this intense confession argument thing going on. And the person behind the curtain is the one that needs to hear it, hears it all. So in this case, Madame Lepage, or whatever her name is, the one who heads the whole drama school, she heard everything and was like, no, 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 no. Megan, out of here. With that, Megan gets kicked to the curb and words begin to spread and Posey's back in the lead again. So everyone knows that Megan screwed up and pretty badly, so goodbye to all the connections that you thought you were gonna have. You totally ruined that for yourself. And in the end, Noah and Penny get back together. Oh yeah, that was an important thing too. Okay, what did I think of anything in particular? Let me look at my notes, okay? I want to start off something very positive. I think Zoella honestly has some really good anecdotes about life, dealing with anxiety and drama in general, because she does like differentiate Penny by saying like she doesn't want to tell Megan's story even though like word's gonna spread. Megan should tell her own story because she's trying to take that in stride of her being girl online. She wants to speak for herself. She doesn't want like the media and stuff blasting her and speaking as if they know the entire situation. So in general, kind of really good approaches to certain situations. So I'll give her props for that. And stuff that she writes in her blogs are definitely like little nuggets of like, oh, how to deal with stage fright, how to cope with anxiety, what to do in certain situations like that. I really like those, honestly. That's why I believe I said in the first video with book 1 that if she were to publish an essay, like a series of essays on these type of topics, I think it'd be that much more impactful. But just because she kind of just sprinkles it in with Penny's day-to-day, you know, it would help a lot more if Penny was a stronger character, but at least the message is good. Okay, now it's gonna get pretty harsh pretty quickly, so if you weren't already hating the rest of this review, you should probably click off now. But anyway, the love triangle was not good. This is what I hate about Twilight 2. When they bring in Jacob, and in this case they bring in Callum, it's not like the author is giving these characters a fair shake. You know, you can tell Bella is one and only for Edward, and you can tell Penny is one and only for Noah. It's just not interesting. If you're gonna put a love triangle into the mix, I just think for it to be strong and very compelling, very interesting to read, you gotta make sure the other guy has like a real shot, okay? Otherwise it's like, you're just here standing in for page time that could be actually devoted to the other guy. So get out of here. Okay, just in general, this book feels a lot like fan fiction. Like in this entire review, I didn't even mention Elliot's story, but his story was that his parents were fighting and his dad was cheating, and in the end they got a divorce. But see, that's the point. I was like, there's no real tie to that. There's no connection to the main story other than that he is her best friend. There's no real significance to that story. So it's just like things happen, but that's it. And there's no message or there's no thing to grasp onto. To me, that's what it feels like a fan fiction. Because if it was like a story from start to finish, it would have character arcs. It would be like point A goes to point B, goes to point C, and it would all kind of connect together to say something. But really this book is just things happen to these characters and come along and watch. That's pretty much all it is. Just some overall thoughts for having read the entire trilogy now is that if you're not in on book one, I don't think you're gonna be in for the ride for the remaining two books. It really hinges on your ability to connect to these characters, and I swear, only reason I was actually able to find some semblance of okay, I root for these characters now is because I was mad picturing Rumi as Noah. That was the only way. But then that means honestly, when I was picturing him as this character, it was because I was filling in all the gaps of his personality, his motivations, his like sense of humor. I was filling it in with Rumi's. I can kind of transport that there, but it's not existing in the text. Noah's like a pretty blank slate, besides that he's a musician rock star type of thing. Like for me to get all like invested in if this relationship is gonna make it, I had to picture him as a very attractive Swedish guy. Yeah, did I think her writing improved throughout the course of the three books? Considering the first one's ghostwritten, I don't really know how much Zoella has to write. So I'm gonna assume, unless there's evidence to prove that otherwise, she wrote the second two books. And do I like the writing in the second two books? I genuinely feel like if she had just given more time to revising these and figuring out what she wanted to say with these types of stories, then I think it could be a lot stronger. Do I hope she continues writing? If she really wants to, I wouldn't let this be the only series that's attached to my name. I definitely continue on with it. Which book do I like the best out of them? I'm gonna say I like book 2 the best. So in book 2, I really like the idea of her being on tour, trying to figure out how to deal with her relationship that's kind of been long distance, and now that they're finally together, what that means being on tour, and the weirdo sending the emails. So these three components together, I think made book 2 the best book out of the trilogy. But book 3, the thing that I found the most compelling was Megan and her deviousness, shall we call it? How dynamic and manipulative that was. That as a concept in itself was way more interesting to me than the entirety of book 2. But since book 3 was bogged down with all this other stuff about Scotland and the Scottish boy and missing Noah and all this other stuff of Penny trying to find her own style, but not really. Alex and Elliot and all that stuff. So that's why I think for me, book 2 is probably my favorite out of the 3. Book 1's not really even on the board for me, which is a shame because that's the entry into the series. If your book 1 is not strong, I don't know how many others will want to pick up books 2 and 3. I mean, it's so hard to say because it was ghostwritten, but if Zoella had written her book 1 and then continue 2 and 3. At least I would be able to say there's like a good evolution going on, and you can forgive the first book for being what it was, because obviously you have a million followers, you're in this big spotlight. Of course you're gonna get a book deal fairly easily, as opposed to a writer who has to kind of slave away without any of that kind of clout and then push forward the best material they can. So yes, I think that's the end of this video. It was a mighty long video, my goodness. And I will see you next time on the next book review, which I'm not sure what it'll be, but it'll be good. So stay tuned.